cage. What is that?
I don't know, Dive Bomb. Brum, 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 brum.
Welcome, LEGO Transformers friends. Today we are going to talk about Headstrong. Now, Headstrong is a rhinoceros, one of the tough, fierce Predacons, as my series this month has been Predacons. This combiner team shares a color scheme of red, black, yellow, and oranges. And I think there's a good medley of colors within this figure. So Headstrong, let's compare him to some others while he's in his vehicle or animal mode. So we'll compare him to Dirge, one of my small jets. And you can see he is pretty large compared to him, which is good because the Predacons were a larger size build. Now, like all Predacon tradition, we'll compare him to a robot, because the Predacons could be in their animal modes a lot more than their robot modes. So we'll put Thrust next to him just to see what he looks like. And very well, Thrust is taller than him, looks like he could ride him, kind of like Optimus Prime rides Grimlock in the movies. But other than that, Headstrong is a large build in comparison, which you'll see them in robot mode next to each other. And let's bring our little Lego man. Well, little Safari man who's been getting the raw end of the deal. Basically, Headstrong actually looks kind of right size for what a rhinoceros would be to a Lego man. I mean, maybe a rhinoceros should be a little bit bigger. And here's the Safari man riding on top of Headstrong. Of course, we all know Headstrong is a Decepticon, so he wouldn't like that much to have a human riding on him. And it wouldn't be Predacon fashion without having some extra weapons that could be useful later on. So we have this cool cannon thing that I showed off in the Combiner Parts episode. And this can kind of attach to his back. Not really. I didn't really have an additional attachment piece, but it does kind of stick onto his back like that. Or you can kind of set it like this. And he can have a blaster cannon. Just like the toy did. The actual toys of these guys did have the cannons that go on their backs, which also become Predacon's feet. I built. So let's take a look at him and talk about him. Get a little closer. Okay, so Headstrong, he's got this nice sharp horn piece here for his rhinoceros horn. This, I believe, came from a dinosaur set, a Lego Creator dinosaur set. Headstrong really shows off a building technique too, using this little piece here. It's a square red piece with a hole in it. This is the piece right here. And as you can see, this build has got a lot of usage of those pieces on his feet and two pieces for his head. That's a very versatile piece. Another neat piece usage I did was these curved pieces. It kind of looks like more rounded, like an animal's chest. And I used them out of these pieces that came on a helicopter set. These pieces are nice because they're round and curved, but they also have this nice hole in it, so you can put pins into it. Where do I get all these random pieces, you may say? Well, I have a Lego store near me. And so I use this small bin here and fill it up with Legos. And so I can get a lot of the same piece sometimes. That's a downside and a good side about it, but it is a great deal. Anyways, back to our character. So now Headstrong has these black shoulders, and I like this orange stripe. This is actually a sticker. This is a smooth piece that came off from Poe Dameron's X-Wing. But I feel that this color scheme with this black piece and this orange line really goes well with the character. In addition, the other side's got one. Now these pieces near the back here actually came from a non-Lego set. It was a little car and there's some fire stickers there. But I like the off orange. It's slightly different of an orangey color than the regular Lego orange. And then there's this other shade of Lego orange. So that gives the oranges a little bit more variety in their coloring. On top of that, when we look at him, there's this nice hinge piece right here. It's a ratchet hinge. And when I use it, I can make his head go up, like he's thrusting in the air, or straight down, like he's ready to charge head on. It's also part of the transformation. Then finally, to talk about the hooves. The hooves are this darker red piece. I'm really enjoying this Lego piece, this dark red color. We've got the cheese blocks for the back hooves, and then flat pieces for slightly smaller front hooves. And that makes the rhino mode. Now let's transform. So in transforming Headstrong, first thing we can do is we can rotate his back section. Each leg is hooked on its own pin. And you can see that there's a black pin here with this looped flat 2 stud piece. And this piece is very useful. You've seen it in most of my jet builds. Okay, so let's take and do that to the other side. We'll rotate them around. And now, let's stand him on his new feet. As you can see, the back corners that were like his hips are now his feet. And they look like perfect wedge toe pieces for a robot. His arms, we can rotate them down, and he has 2 arms. The other nice thing about these pieces is they look like little handholds, which if you know the Transformer toys, they usually have a port in their hands that they can hold their weapons in. Now I'm just going to adjust the camera just a little bit, because he's a little taller in his robot mode than he is in his beast mode. Now we're going to flip the head up. And you can see Headstrong's head. This little black stud here. And I like this way of doing it because you can kind of see the rhino head behind it. And you see the robot head in front. Just like the toy. When you flipped up the toy's head, there was a face underneath the rhino's head. Now the other nice thing about these studs being hollow and having a hole in them is you can place weapons in them. So here we have a sword from the Ninjago Snake teams. That goes in there. And I think the sword looks awesome with these guys. I love it. You probably saw it in my other video, earlier in the video, in Rampage's hand. It just looks like it was made for these guys. Which is really, really a good thing. Now for a quick size comparison. We'll compare Headstrong next to Thrust. And you can see Headstrong is a much beefier, larger build than Thrust, which the Predacons were. They were kind of like the toys that were about as big as the Dinobots. So they were bigger, stronger kind of looking characters. And that fit both their character and their toys. And now these Legos. I really like the way they look next to each other. Okay, we'll move Thrust out of the way and compare a minifigure. So we can get a size scale. And Headstrong sure is pretty scary to this little minifigure. Yep, it's our favorite safari man running around looking for his animals and finding Predacons instead. But he's a pretty good size, so that looks pretty awesome as far as Lego Man compared to my miniature Transformer, who's pretty big. So that is Headstrong. And he makes the third member of the Predacon team we've talked about so far. Well, Predacon is a combiner. That's 5 Transformers combined together. So that means we have 2 more to go before we see the main boss in action. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe. I thank you for your support, and stay tuned for a quick little preview of what's coming around the bend.
Nobody kicks on Headstrong. Who's coming?